and welcome to another episode of Fully Charged. Now, we're on the island of Orkney, and it is an extraordinary place. This place is powered by over 100% of renewable energy. It's a busy island, there's lots of people here. The traffic is, as you can tell, completely barking mad. Although it is quite interesting that this is how noisy a road would be if all cars were electric. We were here 2 years ago, but things have really progressed.
We travelled up to Orkney in the Tesla Model S 100D, which we featured in an earlier episode. We caught the ferry and were greeted by a fleet of EVs at the harbour, and then headed off to the Orkney Electric Vehicle Show. I took part in an entertaining panel discussion that evening about electric cars and electric vehicle myth-busting. The following day, we headed out to sea, across to another island where we met Neil Commode to see how he was using some clever innovation to soak up excess renewable electricity.
So Neil, this is a pretty unique site. I think it's fair to say that you've got a massive wind turbine up on the hill there, and you've got tidal turbines right behind us. I mean, it's an amazing thing.
Exactly. So this substation can receive about 35 megawatts of power, which is 1.5 times what Orkney would
what you actually need.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it could be that big. Now, we're not at that stage yet, but that's where we're going. But the problem we do have is that the grid that on the island is not big enough to take that power away, which is why we had to go for this new project involving hydrogen.
Right. So it is effectively to use the excess power you can't use for lights and radios and things.
Yeah. So here in Orkney, we are really keen to help people do this clever thing of the tides. And what we can't afford to do is to say to people, "Oh, I'm so sorry, we can't take your power. Would you mind going away to somewhere else?" We go, no, hang on. We've got to find a way to make this work here.
So then, using that excess power to produce hydrogen kind of makes a lot of sense, because I mean, if you were running a diesel generator and using that to split water, it wouldn't make sense.
No, don't do that. If you are doing that, please stop that.
All right, I'll turn it off.
But with renewables, I mean, literally, if we don't use it, it just blows past or washes past. So we might as well do something with it. And the energy potential that we've got here on the island is so large. I mean, the figures looking at how much electricity is used generally, you see that electricity is actually quite a small component in our overall energy mix. So what we're trying to do is to take energy out of the sea and do some of these other things. So like transport and heat, and hydrogen seems to be a really good vector to do that. The electrolyser spits the gas out, it goes into the compressor, and it will then go into these as a static store.
Right.
And then the trailer comes along, it then takes the gas out of these. So
you transfer
this is
across,
a buffer tank.
Yeah.
So this is 1/2 ton of hydrogen storage,
Right.
this will be.
Right.
The trailer will take about 200 kilos. So we bring it along, we manifold the gas over, and then we'll boost it up with the compressor, and then the trailer will then detach and then go down to Kirkwall, where the hydrogen will then get used.
So this turbine, I mean, for a start, is that owned by the islanders, or is that? Oh, right.
Yeah. So this was put up. There's a lot of work's been done with Community Energy Scotland to help empower communities to harvest the resources that are around them. And turbines like that, which is an Enercon E45, I think, it's a 900 kilowatt turbine.
Right.
Several of those have gone up on the different isles around here. It's owned by a company that's based on the island, and the intention is that it pays for its capital cost, and then thereafter there's income that flows into the community from the feed-in tariff.
Right.
So it's a means to support the islands by not just having to rely on government handouts and stuff. It's actually a product. You're selling electricity off the island.
Yeah.
I can't remember the figures now, but it's something like about a quarter of our energy need is met by electricity, and the rest of it is all fossil stuff.
Yeah.
Now, we've decarbonised the electricity sector elsewhere by taking coal out of the system, but we've still got these liquid hydrocarbons swilling about. So if we can do something that stops us burning hydrocarbons, we keep them because they're really useful for chemical stuff, so they're not anti-oil, it's just stop burning the stuff.
Yeah.
So if we can do that, that really makes a difference. Now, in Orkney's case, we use about as much oil for moving vessels around as we do for heating our buildings.
Right.
So that's the sort of scale of what we're trying to put a dent into. So if we can really make some significant inroads there, not only do we decarbonise, but you learn stuff, so you create useful knowledge. You've got people doing it, so you've got people doing useful work in these peripheral areas, which sometimes are quite challenged for good quality jobs. And you're able to take that learning and go out with it. So we're already seeing people come from all over the world to see what's happening here.
Right.
And actually we're taking a lot of our knowledge to places around the world, and selling service and, basically bringing money back and taking knowledge out.
Yeah.
So it's selling a service. So it works on so many different levels. That innovation is really starting to pay off.
Oh, that is amazing! Wow.
So so these are the gas transport cylinders in the trailer. That's what storage for 200 kilos of hydrogen looks like.
Right.
Metal cylinders which have then got a Kevlar tape on the outside to reinforce them, and the whole trailer is actually a lightweight trailer to work on the roads on the island, because the roads on the island are actually not very strong. The trailers are then used to shuttle between the island and down here.
All right, so this trailer will go on a ferry to bring it round here,
Yes.
or a vessel of some sort.
Exactly, it goes on the ferry, and then there are 3 of these in shuttling about.
Right.
And the idea is that one of them will be here, and the gas will be taken straight from it to the fuel cells.
Yeah.
And then another one is coming down, and when this one runs low, then you plug the second one in.
Right.
So it gives you continuous gas without having to build a permanent store here. It's a little island group, 20,000 people. We use 3 million litres of diesel a year.
Wow.
Just on the ferries.
Just on the ferries.
Just on the ferries.
Right. So even if all the cars in Orkney were electric, but they're coming and going on diesel ferries, you've still got that.
Yeah. So and it's those sorts of conundrums. So even on the electric car, we're thinking, well, actually, should we put charging on the ferries? So you charge your car when you go. You go, well, no, if it's running for diesel engine, it doesn't really help.
No.
So it's just trying to find the ways in which you can find these niches where the hydrogen can really fit in. And the first thing is the ferries. If we can get that done, that's a really big energy sink.
Yeah. So these are hydrogen fuel cells. I'm just trying to get my head round, so I definitely know what I'm looking at here.
So the boxes in the middle of the hydrogen fuel cells are sort of 3 25 kilowatt fuel cells.
Right.
The boxes on the right are basically the air filtration system, getting the oxygen that's going into
the system. Right.
The hydrogen comes from the trailer that gets fed in, and on the left-hand side is really just the cooling systems, because obviously the fuel cell produces electricity, but also produces a lot of heat.
Right.
So what we're doing here with the heat is a sort of a combined heat and power unit, in as much as some of the heat is actually being used here on the pier in heating a building.
Oh, fantastic!
So we're using the waste heat for that.
Great.
And then the electricity is then going from here over to the ferries, where they're tied up at night.
And so just to make really clear about the ferries, it's not powering the ferries as in what makes them sail through the sea. It's running all the auxiliary units when they're in harbour.
Yes, and that's the first stage, because basically we do want to get to a stage where we're powering the ferries, propelling them by hydrogen.
Yeah.
And nowadays most ferries are actually diesel electrics. The old ferries we got here are just diesels. They're just diesel shaft and propeller on the end of it. So, but at some stage these ferries are going to get replaced.
Yeah.
And when they get replaced, we might as well replace them with 21st century technology, not 19th century technology. So what we're trying to do is to break it down so that it's a sensible investment to go to hydrogen ferries.
Right. And if you've already got the infrastructure starting and they're in place, then that's less of a risk and a jump.
Exactly that. And it's making it small steps rather than big jumps.
Right.
The first step we wanted to do was put these fuel cells actually on the ferry.
Right.
But it turned out we couldn't, because you can't put hydrogen on the ferries because the crew aren't trained in handling hydrogen.
Right.
So we thought, we'll put the crew through a training course of hydrogen. It turns out there isn't a training course of hydrogen because nobody puts hydrogen on ferries.
Yes.
Right. So basically, what we've done is there is a college here, a navigation school, tied in with a coastguard agency. So this is going to become a training rig for setting up a training course, which will then mean we'll have mariners who are used to handling hydrogen. Then they can go on the ferries with the hydrogen, and then we can start to initially power the ferries on standby or their auxiliary systems.
Yeah.
And then in due course, when we get to make the investment for the big ferries, we've got hydrogen, we've got ferries, we've got crew, we've got
the training.
All the pieces there, it all comes together.
Right. Well, that's all we got time for. It's been an amazing experience coming to Orkney and seeing what they're doing here. The people of Orkney are so friendly. They've been incredibly hospitable to us. I particularly want to thank Jonathan Porterfield and Neil Commode, who are two people who organised the event we attended and have really helped us see what's going on these islands. It is incredible. We've all heard the term blueprint, as in a blueprint for the future, and someone tweeted me that a better term might be a green print, that Orkney is a green print for the future. The amount of renewables here is off the scale. They're having to find ways to use that electricity in new and innovative ways. They've got too much power in Orkney, and it's an extraordinary thing to see. So it's been a fantastic experience to be here. If you get the chance to come, grab it. It's a brilliant place to visit. I just want to say, have a look at the little Patreon link. Please subscribe to Fully Charged. And as always, even when we're in the middle of the sea, if you have been, thank you for watching.